Hello, this is Edith Neumeyer, and I'm the author of the book, The Mystery of Adam. Well, I want to continue a little bit my information about anti-Semitism and the Noahide laws. And I have looked up some more information about anti-Semitism. I quoted in my last video that a definition that the state, it's the department, I'm going to find it, that the U.S. Department of State has put out in 2005. But in the meantime, I actually came across the definition about anti-Semitism, what the U.S. Department of State is today posting. So I didn't do that in my last video. I depended on Wikipedia's definition, and they used a 2005 version. And I said that in the meantime, I'm sure they added Israel to the definition of anti-Semitism. Anything that is against Israel. And surely enough, that is true. Since, I believe, 2010, they have actually added these kinds of, this kind of stuff. So I'm going to look at that today because, that scared me to death. If people think the Noahide laws are dangerous and they're afraid that their head may be cut off, eventually, this is relevant today, okay? Today, right now. I could be considered a criminal and thrown in jail, according to the push that Trump is going. I could be thrown in jail for saying something against Israel or Judaism or Jews, and I could be deemed a criminal. Okay, now it's really interesting because I don't feel like I have any hate against Israel, Judaism, or the Jews, but it doesn't matter. It only matters how they define anti-Semitism. And in the meantime, since 2005, this definition of what they consider anti-Semitism is supposed to be has grown tremendously. Okay? Here is what it says. Contemporary examples of anti-Semitism: calling for, aiding, or justifying the killing or harming of Jews. Okay? Okay, I understand that. There's no problem there. My question now is, how about anybody else? Why do I have to state that anywhere that this is a crime? Because this is happening all the time. Okay? And I'm going to say it. How about Israel harming, killing, and harming other people? Isn't that going under hate crime as well, I would think? Okay, but you will see, continuing, I cannot say something against Jews because that would be already anti-Semitism. I believe this is applying to all people. Anybody who is calling for, aiding, or justifying the killing of, harming of other people, it should be wrong. Making malicious, dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations about Jews as such, or the power of Jews as a collective, especially but not exclusively the myth about a world Jewish conspiracy or of Jews controlling the media, economy, government, or other social institutions. So here is the first one. So we cannot say that we are anti-Semitic if we're stating a fact that the Jews are controlling the media, the economy, the government, or other social institutions? Well, of course, it's kind of hard to say because, yes, they are in control of many of the media. I'm sure they're not totally controlling it, or the government. There are many Jews, Zionists in government that are controlling our government. Okay? So that's just a statement that I'm making right now, which could be considered anti-Semitic. Aha, that's really interesting. Okay? But if I'm saying, oh, we have a lot of Muslims controlling our government, hey, that is not wrong. We can say that. Oh, we have a lot of blacks controlling our government or some institutions. We can say that. Okay? But if we are saying the Jews are controlling them, there's something wrong. Even though it may be the truth, we still can't say it under this definition. Accusing Jews as a people of being responsible for real or imagined wrongdoing committed by a single Jewish person or group, the state of Israel, or even for acts committed by non-Jews. So if I accuse the Jews of any wrongdoing, yes, I would think that is not a very good thing. We cannot generalize, but is it a crime? Is it anti-Semitism, or is it just stupidity of humankind? Okay, there's a difference. We say that so many, we generalize things. All the Jews, are bad, or all the Jews are conspiring. Well, that's probably most likely not the case, right? We should know that. But it is defined. If that's what we're doing, if we are saying that all the Jews are doing, like for instance, some people believe that the Twin Towers, 9/11 was caused by a Jewish group. Okay, so now if we're saying, well, it was the Jews' fault that these things were committed, then we're anti-Semitic. Accusing the Jews as a people or Israel as a state of inventing or exaggerating the Holocaust. Ooh, so we better don't say anything about the Holocaust, exaggerating the Holocaust, accusing the Jews or as a people, okay, or Israel as a state. Interesting enough, they're not using Zionism here. So we're actually safe if we're saying Zionists, we're exaggerating the Holocaust because they're not addressed. I don't know. I'm just kidding right now. But who is interested in exaggerating the Holocaust? Okay, I'm not interested in anybody blaming anybody for exaggerating the Holocaust. I just want to know what happened. Now, is that anti-Semitism? If I say, I want to know what happened during the Holocaust, if I want to bring it out and state everything that really went on during the Third Reich, that means I want to know also the things that the Jews did, or should I say the Zionists did, okay? Because all the Jews didn't do anything. It was the Zionist movement that did lots of things against Hitler, but they also involved they try to involve all the Jewish people in supporting them. Okay, so we need to say the truth. No, all Jews are not involved. It's just like I cannot say it is all the Germans' fault what happened during Hitler, but nobody is saying that. There, we easily can just totally accuse all the Germans for what happened during the Holocaust. And that's exactly what happened. So if we are using measuring stick for one group of people, we need to use that same measuring stick for other groups of people. But here, and I don't know who was instrumental in really bringing that out. I would like to know who was instrumental in bringing that out. But under these guidelines here, well, we can accuse, many people for being anti-Semite or anti-Semitistic. If we're just saying just one little thing, we have to be so careful what we're saying. Okay? So, accusing Jewish citizens of being more loyal to Israel or to the alleged priorities of Jews worldwide than to the interests of their own nations. So in other words, if they're American citizens and they're also having an interest as Jews and are supporting Israel, we cannot do that. So we cannot say, oh, well, a Jew is more loyal to Israel than, for instance, the United States. We have no right to say that, even though it's the truth, and we're not hating the Jewish people for doing that. It's still, if we're saying it, we're bad. Okay, if we're bad. So in other words, this is not anything that's not coming down to hate necessarily, but we still can't say it because we could be accused of being an anti-Semite. Isn't that interesting? So yeah, this is all very interesting. I mean, they laid it out pretty clearly. So what is anti-Semitism relative to Israel? Examples of the ways in which an anti-Semite manifests itself with regard to the state of Israel, taking into account the overall context, could include demonizing Israel. Woohoo! Look at that. Using the symbols and images. Oh, listen to this one. Using the symbols and images associated with classic anti-Semitism to characterize Israel or Israelis, which I don't understand what they're saying. Using the symbolism and images associated with classic anti-Semitism. I don't know what those symbols would be. Would it be like the swastika? Because that's what people have used to, to show anti-Semitism. I think that's classical. To characterize Israel or the Israelis. So in other words, I took this as, and the next one is interesting, drawing comparison of contemporary Israeli policies to that of the Nazis. So what we cannot do is we cannot compare Israel with nationalism. Okay? So Nazis would be nationalistic, a nationalistic state of the Third Reich. Those would be the Nazis, right? But yet again, and I'm going to get into deep water right here, and again, some of these things that Israel does are extremely nationalistic, and yeah, they could be compared to the Third Reich. Okay, I'm saying it. So right now, I'm anti-Semitic because I'm stating facts. I'm not hateful against, Israel. I'm not gonna start a war against them or a boycott. Why would I do that? But yet I am recognizing that there are similarities, and because I'm recognizing the similarities, I'm already an anti-Semite. There we go. Blaming Israel for all inter-religious or political tensions. Now here's all. Blaming Israel for all inter-religious or political tensions. Well, I don't think I can do that. Who can blame Israel for all of it? It's kind of ridiculous. And we know that the Jesuits have just as much, wheeling and dealing in the religious, inter-religious or political tensions that are going on. I mean, we can also say that Islam is, affecting to these religious and political even tensions, So no, Israel cannot be blamed as the only state in the world. That's kind of ridiculous. Anybody writing that one down. But it's anti-Semitic, okay? The opinion of a person, that's their opinion. Okay, are there facts that we can actually show that's the case? Is that what they're trying to say? I mean, there's actually facts, and we can't show these facts. I mean, we have to be smart about it and say, well, this is somebody's opinion, and this is somebody's, and that's actually fact. Is it a fact that Israel is to blame for all interreligious or political tensions? No, that is not a statement. That's not even logical to conclude that. We know that that's just somebody's opinion, and who cares about opinion? Okay, freedom of speech covers opinions. As long somebody who states that is not necessarily putting down Israel, the next step would be if they would act upon this false belief and now attack Israel or Jews in general and say, well, Israel, is to blame for all this, so now we are going to go against any Israeli. That would be wrong, okay? I mean, obviously that would be wrong, right? So next one is delegitimize Israel, denying the Jewish people their right to self-determination and denying Israel the right to exist. Well, I don't know who does that, really. I have no idea who does that, all right? Because, you know what, I have no right to, well, I can have my own opinion and say, oh, you know what, the Jewish people don't have a right to their own state. Why? There's no basis for that. I mean, everybody has the right, for their own state. But again, Israel also received that right legally to establish their own country. So there can be nothing said about there. Anybody's opinion doesn't count. It only counts what kind of facts we have. The fact is that Israel did get the right from the British government to go back to Palestine and establish this country. Matter of fact, this right was even supported by Hitler himself, people, okay? And if anybody wants to go against Hitler about anti-Semitism, blah, 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 Hitler was the one who actually supported Palestine. He supported it. He wanted the Jews to establish Palestine because he thought that was a good solution to just send all the Jews to Palestine. Let them have their own land. Matter of fact, he even believed that would probably solve most of the issues that are going on. So I don't know who is thinking that the Jews don't have the right to do that. But again, even if it's somebody's opinion, does that mean they hate the Jews, or they would attack Jews or Israelites or whatever? I cannot imagine that. Now I know that the Arabs don't like the Jews to be in the land, and of course the Arabs have an interest in getting them out. Why? Here's why. Because the Arabs fought for the English during the First World War, and they thought they would get that land for themselves. Okay? And the English kept the land for themselves. They didn't give them fully to the Arabs. And so then later on, after the Second World War, they gave that land to the Jews. And so, of course, the Arabs are upset and think, well, you know what? The Jews don't deserve the land. We've been there first. Well, that is an argument. That is an argument. Now, if I start this argument about the United States, do we white people or Europeans have the right to take over the United States? And the Indians who lived here, do they not have the right to claim this land? you know what? I mean, we can argue over that. We can argue over the fact that, oh no, the Americans, they took the land, and legally they're supposed to have the land, and there was nothing wrong stealing it from the Indians. We can argue that way. But if I do that, if I say America does not have a right to own this land, America, because they stole from the Indians, does that mean I am now a criminal? Now, maybe if I put it into action and fight against the government, then I could be considered a war criminal because the government is going to war against me. But just for voicing my opinion about it, I'm not considered a criminal. But if I'm voicing my opinion about the Jews and Israel, if it was legitimate for them to have Israel, then I'm considered a criminal? For me, that does not make sense. Now, you already know that I have nothing against, the Jews having their own land. That's not something that I should be determining. It doesn't matter what I think, anyways, because politics did what they did, and there's nothing we can do about it. That's just the way it is. But looking at these now, what anti-Semitism is, I suspected when I read the 2005 in my last video, I suspected that they added a lot of stuff that also make you an anti-Semite if you are talking or saying anything against Israel. And I guess I was right. I was definitely right. So look this up again, and this kind of scared me pretty severely. Okay, this scared me because this combined with Trump's push, okay, Trump's push to punish anybody who's anti-Semitic, that kind of scares me. If I can be now put in jail for saying anything wrong against Jews or Israel, that is pretty bad. Okay, that is scary. That is not as scary as the Noahide laws, because the Noahide laws are really not put into action at this point. But what is being put into action right now is this anti-Semitism law. And see, they're right now working, and I also on my Facebook group, I have posted several videos about these things. One about Brother Nathaniel. I like to listen to him once in a while. Brother Nathaniel and Green. What is Adam Green? I like to listen to him once in a while. I don't agree with everything that Adam Green is saying. I don't know. Sometimes he kind of scares me a little bit. And also he talks about sometimes Christian end time stuff, and he is not very clear. He borrows from false teachers, so I don't agree with him on that either. But he states quite a lot of political things that are pretty factual, and so that's why I'm bringing him out. And I posted this video about this anti-Semitism and the speech thing about Trump, which he is right now pushing. He's pushing for freedom of speech in on campuses, on universities, but at the same time, he's coming down hard on anti-Semitism. So only Jews have the right to speak out, but anybody else doesn't. So for me, that is kind of, a strange combination, and it needs to be watched very carefully. Again, I believe that is more dangerous than the Noahide laws at this time. See, the Noahide laws right now are not ineffective. They're just mentioned and in this education sharing day. That's the only time they're mentioned. Why? Because it is the education sharing day is about this Rabbi Schneerson and honoring him. Okay? Of course, this is the way, the Jews or Judaism is getting a foot in the door, in politics, which is their right. It is their right to do that. Just like Muslims have the right to do the same thing, Christians have the right to do the same thing. I cannot scream and holler because Trump is having these Christian advisors. They have to cater to all the religions because we still have freedom of religion in the United States. So I'm not too worried about these Noahide laws. Okay, I am more worried about this anti-Semitism and our free speech. That's what I am worried about. Because I want to make sure that we will continue to have free speech and that we are not limited in sharing our opinions and pointing out the truth. Okay, not even our opinion should be hindered. We should be able to voice our opinion as long as we can share it in a neutral way, okay, not in a hateful way. So look up these new definition, this new definition of anti-Semitism. And you know what? When they're saying, well, we cannot say that the Jews are infiltrating in government. Well, this is how they're doing it. This is how they're doing it, okay? I'm not hating these groups that are doing that. It's just a normal thing that people are doing, okay? There are always interest groups. Now, if I am complaining or getting upset about the pharmaceutical companies getting a foot into our government and lobbying, that should be my right to do that. It's happening, okay? It is happening. Pharmaceutical companies are taking over. There's no wrong about that. We have the right to say that. Or, for instance, all the insurances, they're taking over. They're taking over the government. They're lobbying and are influencing and buying our presidents and our politicians. They buy out the politicians so they can get their interest, in the government. That is happening, okay? And that is not the doing of all Jewish people. I'm sure all Jewish people do not even agree with everything Zionists are doing. I know so many different kinds, of Jews. And one of the Jews, he probably can bring his book over here, who speaks out against the Holocaust himself, Norman G. Finkelstein. I read his books, and he is saying, so is he an anti-Semite? This book right here that I am reading, Beyond Chutzpah, on the misuse of anti-Semitism and the abuse of history. So is this guy now, Finkelstein, who is a Jew, an anti-Semite? There's the question. But see, they put these things in place because they're trying to hinder these people from stating the truth. Okay, here's his book. Okay, here's his book. So are they now hindering these even Jewish people and call them anti-Semite? Can a Jew even be called anti-Semite? I would like to know about that one. If you have any idea about that, please let me know. If you think I can call a Jew an anti-Semite, here is it. I'm going to finish up my video with that thought. Can a Jew be called an anti-Semite or not? How about a person that may have lots of Jewish genes, okay, like me, okay? How do I know that I don't have Jewish genes, okay? Most of the Jews today, they are a total mix too, all right? And like I have already said in the past, that Jews mixed in very well with Germans. So German genes are such a mix. And I believe that lots of Germans even have lots of Jewish blood, okay? And so did a lot of Jews that were killed in the Holocaust, had a lot of German blood. They were still, killed. Lots of them had German names. They were Germans, period. Okay, they were Germans. Germans didn't discriminate against them. They were Germans. So, anyways, I will finish up today, but just food for thought. Give me your comments and let me know what you think. I know, be careful, because you don't want to be called an anti-Semite. We don't want to do that. We don't want to offend, and I mean that really. I don't want to offend any Jews, and I don't want to put down any Jews at all. No, Like I said, I don't even know if I'm not a Jew. How do I know?